Okay, so this is our editing diary, and it's an evaluation process, really, the whole editing process, isn't it? 2 of our group members are missing because they're ill, but we've rang them and got them to give us what they think, like all the topics that need to be covered to do with the editing. So effectively they are here, but they just obviously not because they're ill. So, do you want to start?
Yeah, the first one we're going to talk about was something bad that we come across, because obviously, as we've done in another video, we had to cut all of the first day of our shooting, and obviously when we first did have that, we did spend a couple of lessons editing that, so we obviously wasted a lot of time on that. That was a bad thing.
It was quite stressful as well.
And that was really stressful because we were obviously thinking, oh, we've got to go and like film it all again, but we didn't.
It was really annoying because like the ideas seem so good,
yeah,
and then when you get it on film and you put it down and you're like, oh, she's walking, she's still walking,
yeah,
and then you realise, oh, this isn't going to work, it's too predictable, it's not what we were going for. And then on the second day of shooting, it really just took off, really. I don't know what happened. We spent 2 hours in the morning, didn't we? Had a double period, and we literally just cracked on, and we thought we'd got enough for like the second half, and it turned out we had like
way too much
amounts. Like,
we had about 10 minutes of footage and we only needed a 2-minute thriller, and that was with like the second half alone.
So we literally just cut all the second day filming down to get enough for the time. What's it?
Yeah, plus without the first half, the second half just really fitted well for like a thriller atmosphere, rather than
and it fitted out with Brief so much better, didn't it?
Yeah, rather than going with the original and doing, oh, she's going to be kidnapped now.
They were so disjointed, like if you put them together it would have just been a complete flop.
Yeah, and I feel that our second half makes so much more of an atmosphere if it's
really claustrophobic.
Yeah, without it being with the second half. And the thing is, with our second half, no one really knows what's going to happen next because you haven't seen the first half, which is original, which everyone would go for.
So it's definitely something that gets the questions going.
Yeah, definitely. Which is what we want in our first 2 minutes, because we want the audience to be asking these questions and wanting to know what's going to happen next.
Is that enigma? Enigma when it builds up
I don't know.
I think it might be. It's enigma, if that's correct. If it's not, ignore that. We'll cut that.
Yeah. We won't.
Then the next problem we had was, obviously we had all this footage that we really liked, and then we had to cut bits that we really liked because there was a bit where Daisy was like walking down the corridor and the lights were going on and off, and it was to show like in her frame of mind the whole like what is happening to me, what's going on, the whole confusion. And then it sort of cut from being like a point of view shot back to like somebody like they were watching her, and then another point of view shot. But because of the constant back and forth and the lights going, it was too much. But it really was effective in making you feel confused as well. And we kind of didn't want to cut it, but then once we cut it, the whole thing just like flowed a lot better, didn't it?
So
more
much,
fluid. Yeah. And that
you still had the disjointed view of her mind even without it, but we were really gutted to cut it because we thought it had an effect, but it just didn't fit with our thriller, and it also made it too long because there was too much of everyone being able to just see, oh, she's still walking down that corridor with all the flickering lights.
Far too long and dragged it out too much. It stopped being effective. It just got to the point where it was a bit like uncomfortable because it had been going on for so long.
Yeah.
So we cut it down, made it quite subtle. Transitions.
We took quite a lot of time when adding transitions, and to be honest, most of our clips kind of flowed together anyway without there having to be a fade or a blur. Jade, if you put the camera on the thing, I'll just show them.
What's that? Is that one again?
Yeah, it's on there. So as you can see, these are our title sequences, obviously, but as you can see, there's two transitions within our whole thing, but that's mainly because they needed it to be there and here obviously it blurs out with Matt. I'll show you. Walking down the corridor, it just blurs just to show.
We were lucky with that though. It's so subtle because as he comes round the corner, it blocks like the corridor, so you were able to put the blur on very subtly, but it just seemed to flow, didn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas it wasn't like, oh, that's a fine shot, and then there's the transition. So, yeah, that worked alright, didn't it? We didn't have too much trouble with that.
Yeah.
I suppose the only worry was that we didn't use them enough, but then you don't want to overdo it with effects and stuff anyway, so hopefully we've put enough in and it works. We put it where it's needed, so it's effective.
And it has a major effect without using too many.
Yeah.
Our music was a serious struggle.
Music was probably the hardest thing. It was the hardest thing because the whole atmosphere is so tense and so claustrophobic, and it's silent, and the tiniest little things like creaks and stuff were already there because it was like a creaky wooden floor and stuff, wasn't it?
And it was very quiet when we filmed. There wasn't any background noise, so we didn't have like trouble with people walking past, like shouting or kids shouting.
Or like traffic or anything really. No, it was really quiet because it was during lesson time, so it was okay.
Which, that was how it probably would be in that actual situation, so it worked really well. But obviously...
You have to put music on.
So we really struggled with finding music, but we went through I did a post about this, but we went through quite a lot of different things. Like we were thinking maybe like a creepy music box, because we wanted to keep the music subtle, so we just needed that music to keep the atmosphere that we already had without it. And that was really hard to find because a lot of music on the copyright, it was all music that was really upbeat and like thriller music. Yeah,
like, because it has to be copyright free, doesn't it? So all the stuff you could find was like your stereotypical thriller music, whereas, I don't know, I think what we went for, we were really lucky with finding it, weren't we?
So lucky with finding it.
It just literally, we stumbled across it, that was how lucky we were, and it really fitted so well. And it's more like, it sounds quite innocent, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel it holds the innocence of the character, but as you get towards the end, you can kind of feel her innocence leaving her, because obviously she's in this world that she's been forced into. And I feel like towards the end it gets really desperate. That's how...
Definitely. It starts to get a bit dark towards the end, because the whole
and it kind of
keys, it all slows, doesn't it?
And I just feel it's desperate for how then women are feeling, because they're feeling desperate because they want to get out. And I feel that music really... I feel like the music represents the character and her mind thought and her feeling, rather than making the thriller. It does set the atmosphere more, but the thriller already had the atmosphere without it, and I feel that music just really tops it off.
Complements it. It's definitely complements it.
Yeah.
And it's just enough. It's eerie enough, but it's also like, it's got that innocence, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, the ending. We were worried that people wouldn't understand what was happening, and we didn't know where to cut it, and we didn't know which way around to put certain frames. Did we put Matt closing in on Ruby down the corridor at the end to sort of be like, oh, you know, is he going to get us, sort of thing, or what's going to happen to it when he gets there? But then we thought maybe if we put that in before and then put more footage back of Daisy and then cut back to Ruby down there, it kind of linked the two, and it gave this idea of sort of like two things going on in the same place at the same time, different places even. But then,
I feel that worked better with the music as well, because we could dial the music down for the aggressive bit with Matt, like trying to catch up with me, and then we could put the music like slowly back on to show the innocence of Daisy again and her mixed world and her mixed frame of mind.
Definitely. And by the time we put them together, they worked really well. Like,
yeah, definitely.
But it was getting it round the right way. It was doing it the right way so that people wouldn't think, oh, that's a bit irrelevant. What's that doing there? Oh, come back. Oh, no, it's back again. We didn't want that. We wanted it to flow. But it took a bit of playing around, but we got there eventually. Yeah. And then it was selecting the title for the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had this image in our head because obviously with trafficking, it's like the women are a product, and we kind of like on a barcode you have that kind of like sci-fi kind of writing, and we kind of wanted that at the end to show that she has been labelled, she's been made this product. Should we show them it?
Yeah, sure.
Right. We had this problem where
in.
Oh yeah, we didn't know whether to put it as this bit faded down, as Daisy faded down, or to at the end. But we all decided we really liked it at the end, because let me put it on the big screen. It just cuts off, so if you watch, and it flickers to show the flickering light and stuff, and we really liked that, and we thought that worked
fitted quite well. And because we've spent ages looking at different texts, didn't we? Because we wanted it to look like the text on a barcode.
Yeah, and we didn't want it to look like alien
or
kind
too
of
like sci-fi typing. And it's the same when we did our title sequence at the start. We did a lot of like looking into title sequences and stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
And did a blog post on that. And it was just looking at how best to put them on and where to put them on and what was too much and what was enough. It was getting the balance right. But we did have a couple more that we've taken off because it just looked too crowded and it was too much, and you wouldn't put that at the beginning of a film, you'd put that on the end sequence.
The
and
end
obviously
credits,
this is an opening, so yeah, we kept it quite minimal with what we put in titles at the beginning, but using a font that we thought represented like a barcode.
We're going to talk about the good things now that we've gone over everything that was bad.
Said about stumbling across the music.
Yeah, that was definitely...
That just brought it all together. Once we got the
Totally.
music, weight off our mind, everything started coming together a bit more now. Oh my god, we've been talking for 10 minutes. Okay.
Loads of clips that we had unexpectedly come together, like we said about getting rid of some of our really good footage that we was gutted about, but it brung so much more good footage together, and it just works so much better with what we used rather than using the things that we could have used, because at the end of the day we've had advice from like audience feedback, like tutor feedback, and like they've obviously thought, well, that doesn't work as well. So we've took that into account and we've taken it out, and even though we were gutted about taking it out, it just works so much better, and we're really happy with our end product with all these.
Yeah, definitely. The editing process has been quite a long process, but it's been something that's... We were lucky because we got our footage done quick, and then we had plenty of time to play with ideas and see what worked and what didn't and make decisions, and we still had the option to reshoot if we needed to. But I think having that made us less stressed. It gave us the time to make the decisions, and it gave us the time to really hit the nail on the head with regards to what we wanted. So overall, I'm really proud of my group, and I think that...
same. We've worked extremely hard and extremely well together.
And I just can't wait to find out the mark. Yeah, really.
We've said about the label. We said about that. Even though it was hard, we're really happy with what we've got, and that was a really good thing because we're sticking with the
themes.
The theme of the subject we've gone for.
And when we did our mood boards and we did all the barcodes and everything, women as a product, women as like, sex trafficking, the slavery and all things like that.
Yeah, we've gone with what we've said we've gone with.
We wanted to keep the themes of our mood board in there.
Yeah.
And that goes as well with a lot of the mise-en-scène, like the costume choices, the fishnet tights, all of that, the close-ups of that.
Yeah.
It was all on the mood board, and it was stuff that we did right at the beginning when we started this. So it was important for us to go back to where we started and pull that through towards the end.
Yeah.
And I think we've done it quite well.
Yeah, and
Fingers crossed, anyway.
That's our editing diary.
Sorry for chatting on for nearly 13 minutes. Never mind.